Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Well, welcome everyone. I am Katie Petrick, as always, joined by the David Fiorazzo. Now, David, before we get started,
yes,
I need to ask you,
yes,
how have you been sleeping these days?
Yes, I mean, not that great.
Exactly. Well, you would be sleeping a whole lot better if you were nestled into some quality Giza sheets while resting your head upon a signature pillow from My Pillow.
You're probably right, but it's that time of year to stock up on sheets, towels, pillows. I actually have plenty of these things from My Pillow. Slippers, robes. Their slippers are amazing, warm and comfortable. Even coffee. And right now you can save up to 66% on everything by simply using the code EDUCATED. So go to mypillow.com, use the code EDUCATED, and send Katie and I something nice this Christmas season.
Yeah, I'll take anything.
What I did there?
I see what you did there. Giza sheets. I'll take some new slippers.
We don't have the sheets, but we have a lot of other things.
I have the pillow. So, all right, anyway, today we're going to talk about how a federal judge in Texas strikes a massive blow. Oh, so sad. To Joe Biden's $400 billion student loan forgiveness, declaring it illegal to forgive college debt without any congressional approval. What? That's illegal? Say it ain't so, David.
Well, what's interesting about this is it didn't happen a month ago before midterms, because I think they did a lot of vote buying leading up to the midterms, and they tried to get a lot of these college students. But here's the headline: federal court declares Biden's student loan bailout is illegal. And I believe the judge is right. Texas judge ruled that President Joe Biden's student loan bailout is illegal, dealing a massive blow to the administration. Not that it matters, they're going to try something else, but and a blow to Democrat socialists everywhere. But again, they'll keep on pushing. They'll find another way. So U.S. District Court District Judge Mark Pittman, he made the ruling in response to a lawsuit that was filed by the Job Creators Network Foundation, which alleged that Biden's student loan bailout violated federal procedures. Katie, you're a student of the Constitution.
What?
Did it really violate federal procedures? And if so, how?
Well, see, what Biden was trying to do was get around everything that is meant to be done via Congress.
Presidents can do that?
They're not supposed to.
Well, Democrat presidents can, right?
Right. Well, I just want to read what Pittman actually wrote about the HEROES
Good.
Act, because he says we're talking about whether Congress, through the HEROES Act, was actually giving the secretary authority to implement the program that would provide that debt, correct? And this would be giving just the president, via the pen, tried to just say, hey, all of you millions of students out there, $400 billion, pish posh. Even though you are adults and you signed a contract that says I will repay what I borrow plus interest.
Depending Isn't that on when we get a credit card? Isn't that kind of what we do?
This is Economics 101. And so as Pittman, what Pittman wrote about it, he says that whether the program constitutes good public policy is not the role of the court to determine. Because what do the courts determine? Constitutionality. That's
Yes.
what the courts don't legislate. They determine whether the legislature actually has a law that is constitutional. So Pittman said that, still no one can plausibly deny that it is either one of the largest delegations of legislative power to the executive branch, because the legislature was just like, oh, President Biden, you take this. And Biden then signed off and said, poof, all your debt is magically gone. So how is that constitutional at all? That's not constitutional. So good on Pittman. Good
it's
on Pittman.
Not. And you know what's interesting to me is I don't know how they get away with doing this. I guess part of it, I think, there's so many variables here. Part of it is how the media reports or doesn't report on something when it comes to a Democrat policy, is trying to take more power than is constitutional. I mean, how many times have you seen that during the Obama-Biden years, and even now during the Biden administration? The media doesn't report on it, and if they do, it's certainly not in a negative way. They're saying, hey, compassion, Joe Biden's helping out college students. but he's trampling the Constitution to do it. So, by the way, there's a reference here to the Federalist number 47. And President James Madison warned that the accumulation of all powers, legislative, executive, and judiciary, in the same hands, whether of one, a few, or many, and whether hereditary or self-appointed or elective, may justly be pronounced the very definition of tyranny.
Yeah, so when James Madison and the other guys wrote all the Federalist Papers to convince everyone, hey, let's join and sign on for this Constitution, they wrote the Federalist Papers individually explaining what needs to happen based on the Constitution that they set up. And James Madison, more than anyone, understood the power of mob rule, as we know in Fed 10,
Yes.
and then obviously how, consequently, in all these papers, if you should go read the Federalist Papers, it always comes back to, we set up a Constitution so that we would have a check on each branch, that we'd have a balance of the powers, that not one individual of the three branches would overtake the others. And what the judge is referencing here in talking about Madison and how tyranny happens, if you just cede this power over to one of them, as is what the Congress basically did by being like, okay, Joe, you can just give up all this student loan. You can do this loan forgiveness. They ceded that power, and they made the executive branch, they elevated it to a level that it obviously was never intended to be.
Right.
The executive was never intended to be branch, I guess, one and only at this point. They didn't write it as the first branch. They wrote it as the second branch, and even then it was not intended. But we're not going to sit here for an hour and talk about the history of how they came to write the Constitution and what they argued over. The moral of the story is, for now, it's on hold. The student loan forgiveness is on hold. And David, I'm so sad that now if you wanted to go apply, because you had to apply to get like that $10,000
Yes.
forgiveness or the $20,000 forgiveness, you go to the website, the education department website, and it's not there anymore. They stopped it because they know that is not constitutional, and they know that, they caught us. We might as well stop allowing students to apply for these loans because, hey, it's not going to happen. But ultimately, they are going to fight this, as they will.
Yep, they will. So apparently the Democrat education department, the education department
Get it right. Yeah, there we
was
go.
very disappointed
They were.
in this constitutional outcome from this judge. But anyway, still to come, despite Biden's student loan forgiveness plan being deemed illegal, a new survey shows exactly what borrowers plan to do with the extra cash if and when they ever receive it. Stay with us.
If you have a smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Apple TV, consider downloading the Freedom Project Media app. It's 100% free and includes all of our weekly shows, plus lecture series, archive programs, and award-winning animated videos for families like the Presidential Minute, Battles of America, and Heroes of the West. Don't rely on the social media giants to keep you informed. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app from your app store and allow notifications. And we'll let you know when a new video is ready.
So, if that student loan forgiveness, the bailout, is allowed to eventually move forward, I have some great news for you, David. Great news. That money, it's going to go to things that matter. Like eating out,
I read the
traveling.
story. She's joking.
Those are things that matter to people who don't know how to budget in the first place and then take out a lot of loans.
They're getting rewarded.
Student loan forgiveness,
Yeah.
and then they're just going to travel for it. Anyway, we have a story talking about an actual survey that was put out. The anchors of CNBC's Money Minute actually discussed this recent survey that's from intelligent.com, and they asked 1,250 individuals, and they found that 73% of President Biden's student debt forgiveness anticipated recipients, the ones who want to get this money, 73% of them said they will spend their extra income because now they're not having, or they wouldn't have to eventually maybe pay back their student loan debt. 73% of them will spend the extra income on non-essential items, including dining out and travel. The anchor, Deirdre Bosa, said it could be easy as well for some people to enjoy travel and eating out rather than worrying about the future.
Recipients of President Biden's student debt forgiveness plan could see their monthly payments drop up to $300 a month in the coming weeks. But get this, 73% say they actually plan to spend that extra cash on travel and dining out.
And joining us now is CNBC Text Check co-anchor Deirdre Bosa. So Deirdre, why are people more inclined to spend the money they're saving on non-essentials instead of paying off their bills? I think we may know the answer.
Well, that could be according to one survey, but it could be easy as well for some people to enjoy traveling and eating out rather than worrying about the future. One financial coach tells CNBC.com that you should not use the loan forgiveness only for long-term goals. Your short-term self may get frustrated and give up on planning ahead altogether. So instead, they say make sure your regular bills are paid, check in on your goals, and try to achieve a balance that also lets you invest in your future self.
Okay, yeah, I'm confused about one thing. We have to go back a little bit.
Just one?
I heard, several things actually, but the first thing that I heard CNBC and intelligent in the same sentence, and I'm really kind of confused
you're
about
saying
that.
the CNBC was just talking about a survey done by a different group. That's why it's separate.
All right, that clarifies that. Now, am I wrong, or doesn't it seem like these young American students would be rewarded for maybe being irresponsible with, taking out loans and maybe going into massive debt and then saying, okay, I'm getting a chunk of this back, and now, hey, I think I've never been to Italy.
Yes,
maybe I'll go there.
This is another example. If the ruling gets overturned and then this is actually allowed to go through the loan forgiveness, this is just another example of, oh, I made a bad decision, but it's okay. Daddy government is fixing it for me. And now I'm getting rewarded by apparently going on traveling and eating out and that.
Sure.
And as Deirdre said there, when she was talking about how a financial coach told them that you got to focus on the short-term self and not so much the long-term goals as much because,
what an awful
it's
philosophy.
all about me, now.
Exactly.
No one cares about anything in the future.
Exactly.
Well, let's get to some more of these statistics because your jaw may drop a little.
Yes.
So again, 73% said they're going to do the non-essential stuff. Well, when you take a look at who is saying how much money they're going to spend, what and where, men are more likely than women to spend the money on the non-essential. So it's 84% versus 65. So it's actually the men. So that's how you get the average of the 73. But only two, as many Democrats than Republicans say it's acceptable to spend the money on non-essentials. 77% said that they could use their money more wisely. 77% say, hey, I need to use my money more wisely. Also, 73% say they're going to use it not so wisely. That blows my mind. And 4 in 10 of them. This is the one that 40% say, hey, student loans haven't negatively affected their lives.
Wait a minute. What's that again? That's 40%.
40% said, hey, the student loans have not negatively affected their lives.
So the loans haven't negatively affected
They have not negatively affected them. So whatever, yeah.
They're saying they might not have needed a bailout?
Well, or they actually went to majors that made it so they have jobs that are appropriate.
Oh, okay.
But it is also, they broke it down more on more statistics. So when they talked about what they're actually likely to spend money on, they're saying that in a given month, they spend 44% spend their extra money on smartphones, and they can choose more than one.
Okay.
36% are spending money on gaming systems.
Gaming, that's right.
Some people are gambling, 27%.
Why not?
Some are investing in the stock market, 43%.
Wait. So our tax dollars would help young people invest money to make money, and we would be helping them in the stock market.
Yeah,
Am I
potentially,
understanding
but you said young people. It's not necessarily young people. Let's remember how many people took out how large of loans and how long they've been paying these debts back because they went to maybe college and got a degree that did not turn out
like 20 years ago.
And
they're getting gifts, drugs, alcohol.
They spend their extra money on all of these things instead. Anyway, all right. So we already got some of the statistics. So.
Wait a minute. One more. I'm sorry. A wedding.
Hey.
30%?
Yes. They would spend money on the wedding. Exactly.
Oh my God.
But it's interesting to say, like, when they break it down between men and women, men are higher
Careful.
Like percentage-wise, they are higher in percentage-wise than women on almost, I think, everything. If you look at the chart there, you can see that the blue bar graph is actually the men, the purple is the women, and then you average them out, and boom, you get the black bar chart. It's the men who are spending, they're likely to spend more money then, because the women, I don't know, or maybe women are putting it away for families. I don't know what women would be doing compared to the men. If you break it down by percentage for each group.
I think this sounds a tad askew.
Does it now?
If men
He's
are,
a little bitter because he wants to go to Italy. That's what this all
well,
comes down to.
you know, I wouldn't force anybody else to pay for that trip if I did get to Italy.
Hey, if anyone wants to donate to David, paying to go to Italy. But anyway, when we come back, because we're not going to Italy, we're staying right here, the greatest doctor, Dr. Anthony Fauci. He awards nearly $300 million, while him and his group, in NIH funding for academics to study racism and health. Doesn't sound like a waste of taxpayer money at all, no, does it? That's next.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on pristine quality bedding, towels, slippers, signature pillows, and much more when you use the code EDUCATED. That's EDUCATED. Educated. Support this show and a great American company.
Well. Remember that guy? His name was Fauci?
Dr. Fauci.
I mean, who could forget him? Now that COVID really isn't putting him out there in the limelight, pushing him to the forefront, he's not throwing out as many baseballs at the Washington Nationals games or being on the cover of I don't even know how many magazines. He's just going to waste money on the taxpayers' money instead. So the National Institutes of Health, the NIH, has pledged to fund 437 projects and 43 sub-projects examining racism in healthcare. We're going to spend all that, 437 projects. It's only going to cost just under $300 million. So it's $297,282,984. Pish posh, nothing.
At least it's under 300.
It's a drop in the bank there. The largest contributing agencies are the National Institute on Minority Health and Health Disparities, the National Institute on Drug Abuse, and the National Institute of Mental Health. Now, the biggest recipients for all this chunk of change were the University of California at San Francisco, the University of Minnesota, and Emory University. Now, $5.5 million flowed from Dr. Anthony Fauci's Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases to racism and health research. And according to press team member Anna McCulloch, NIH's mission is to seek fundamental knowledge about the nature and behavior of living systems and the application of that knowledge to enhance health, lengthen life, and reduce illness and disability. David, I mean, come on. Her statement right there, that warrants $300 million.
Yeah, and there's a problem when you connect racism with healthcare.
Racism.
There's so much we could say about this. Remember, if the left thinks abortion is healthcare, they had no problem with Margaret Sanger's racism, did they? All right, but let's go back to this article now. Sorry, I just had to throw that in there because it's true. I'm looking at later on, almost toward the end of the article, it says older gay men. Wait a minute, stop. Thought you were talking about racism here in healthcare. Older gay men also face, quote, structural racism problems, according to researchers where? The University of California, San Francisco. Katie, what is this?
Francisco. Well, they have one of the studies that they put out there, or that they're funding here, is the structural racism and discrimination in older men's health inequities. So it's all about the older gay men, as you talked about. Their abstract, you can see right there, is highlighted every time they mention racism, because it's structural racism and discrimination in older men's health. Abstract. The health and well-being of older gay men has been greatly shaped by structural forces, namely discrimination, and for older gay men of color, racism. Okay, so basically, every chance we get to claim racism, we do. And so they basically wanted to get funding to talk about gay men's health disparities.
In San
so
Francisco.
they're gonna and so they are being the racist using racism to just and people of color. Like, we're just gonna throw it in there because if we say it's racist, then we'll get the funding. Because how the third rail is supposed to be Social Security? It's not. Racism. Like, no one wants to touch it, no one wants to address it, just like let it be there because we're all so afraid that if we go anywhere near it, we're gonna get our hands slapped and it will be canceled. Because everything is racist.
And by the way, have you noticed, friends, television commercials kind of backing this idea up that we're a racist nation? Pay attention to TV commercials. They don't call it programming. I mean, for nothing. But anyway, still to come, the University of Chicago is doubling down on racism in America by offering a series of ridiculous social justice classes, including a brand new one entitled, ready? The Problem of Whiteness. Since we've been assured that we can identify as any race, now we'll have some fun coming up next talking about this course right after the break. Stay with us.
We want to hear from you. If you have a question or comment for Katie, David, or any of our other show hosts, simply visit stayeducated.org. That's stayeducated.org and submit your question or comment. Our team loves to hear from you and might just give you a shout out on air. Again, visit stayeducated.org and connect with us.
All right. Well, hey, if you're a fan of the show, which I hope you are, please do your little thing there and like, comment, share if you're watching us on social media. And please do send us your feedback at stayeducated.org. And then don't forget to take advantage of our 66% off deal at MyPillow. Get yourself a good night's rest. We all deserve it, especially after these midterm elections. So simply go to MyPillow.com and use the code EDUCATED to save yourself a bundle on the towels this holiday season.
That's right. My pillow, my towels, my slippers, my dog beds, we have them all. And we have pillowcases, we have other things. We just didn't get the sheets. That might be the next investment. But let's talk about this course, Katie.
Ooh.
The University of Chicago, Problem of Whiteness. They're going to offer it. Apparently, it's
a problem. That's why.
It's a problem, a massive problem in this country. And this upcoming spring semester, the class is offered through the Critical Race and Ethnic Studies Department.
Excellent.
There you go.
You know what? I think...
is that connected to the DEI?
DEI, DIE, they're all one and the same. But you know what? I think they're being headed up by this man who sang a little song called Ice Ice Baby. Because you know what? If you got a problem, he'll solve it.
Really?
He will. He's talking about the problem of whiteness. Do you know the song? Ice, Vanilla Ice?
Yeah.
Anyway, problem of
Am I
whiteness.
dating myself?
You are. Well, you are. Now, so University of Chicago. So again, all you have to do in all these instances, because we always talk about this, the racism that we have. What if we called the course the problem of blackness? What would happen, David?
Oh my goodness. Really?
But that's okay. We can
get it
call
away.
something, because it's whiteness. And whiteness, who cares? But if you call it the problem of blackness, then we'd have an issue. But hey, it's again, because whiteies don't matter. We can just be racist toward one group and everyone else gets a free pass on everything and anything. That's where we're at.
Okay, there's the teacher involved, by the way, Rebecca. How do you say her last name?
Journey.
Journey? Wait a minute. Is she white? But anyway, what's interesting is the university declined to provide a copy of the syllabus. And it says, quote, critical race theorists have shown that whiteness has long functioned as an unmarked racial category, saturating a default surround against which non-white or not quite, others appear as aberrant according to the course description. So the College Fix, they do great work. They reached out to the course instructor, Mrs. or Ms. Journey, and to ask how she defined whiteness and what she hoped to achieve by teaching the class. Katie. Conservative Daniel Schmidt responded by saying, as Black Lives Matter likes to say, silence is violence. Can you fathom? Yeah, you kind of already said this, right? Can you fathom the amount of outrage if the course was called The Problem of Blackness? So you've got a lot of people kind of critically thinking and saying, all right, would this be allowed or appropriate if the tables were turned, if it was named something else? And of course, no. So isn't this discrimination?
Of course it is.
Or is
Absolutely, it is. This is always what it is. But you know what? I don't care if they're black, they're white, they're brown, they're blue, yellow, red, pink. Whatever type of sheets that you want to sleep on, you go right ahead, and you should get those sheets. Again, mypillow.com. Use the code EDUCATED. Save some dollar bills, y'all. Because if the Joe Biden loan forgiveness actually gets to go through eventually, then we're all paying for it. So save that money now. Again, mypillow.com. Use the code EDUCATED. I've had enough for today, I think.
This
so
is just...
we're good. So for David and myself, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you for supporting what we do. Until next time, stay educated.